huge disappointment, obviously, not being in the Champions League, but it's, you know, they're the most fraught games of the season. They come so early. You know, I know the fans are very discontent with the board. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't put it all on the board. I think that, you know, the team that Brendan had was good enough over 2 games to beat Carrot, and I'm pretty sure that the board would have been working away in the background to try and get deals done, to get players over the line. And I know for a fact that some of the players didn't come early. They've come now, like Tenetki, you know, for example, Celtic went for him very, very early. And then the flip side of that is Ash, you know, they spent a lot of money last year because they were guaranteed the Champions League. You know, 30 million on Engels, Trusty, Adamida. You know, and these players aren't playing at the minute. And the flip side of that is, you know, this year, with not having the guarantee of Champions League, it's hard to attract players to Scotland without that carrot of being in the Champions League, especially with the amount of money that they're prepared to spend on the players.
Well, looking at that, like, can you understand it from the fans' frustration? Like, you're in an interesting position. You've been there as a player, you've been there as a coach, been there as a manager. You know how the board work, but also the fans are a massive part of Celtic. They're frustrated. Can you understand that side of things? I
can, yeah. It's their club, and they're entitled to, you know, voice their opinion any way they want. The Celtic fans have been amazing over the course. But there's a realism about this, you know, and there's a sustainability that, you know, the club have to plan, not just for this season, but for years to come. If you're spending 10, 12 million pounds on a player on top of the wages, you know, it eats a lot into the money that the club have sort of earned over the years. And they can't spend that amount of money without really the Champions League money on top of that to plan the club going forward. So, yeah, I understand the discontent, I understand the frustration, you know, but it's not all on the board either. There has to be a unity at the club. The club have been so successful, you know, under this stewardship of the board and, you know, Mr. Desmond at the helm. You know, the success he's brought from 2000 has been unparalleled. I've worked with these people. They're class operators. They know the environment. They know the culture of European football, and they do look ahead to. You know, Celtic's such a well-run club, but I understand that people want instant success constantly. It doesn't always come around that way, but I still think the team is good enough to get through and then build on that.
And they need the fans. They are the 12th man. Like, we've heard this time and time again. Without them, the team's not going to be performing to their best, Kenny.
And you know, despite this bit of a feeling undercurrent of discontent amongst the supporters, you know, invariably they're going to get behind the football club, undoubtedly. So I can understand the fans' frustration. I think they're smart. I haven't spoken to too many Celtic supporters around, even in Dublin here today, who are screaming that they should have been spending 15, 20 million pounds on players. If you look at the money they've spent, Nygrim coming in, 1.5 million, great boy. I think the argument, I understand, they look at Tunecki, the impression he's made in such a short period of time. He only cost 4 or 5 million pounds. Iheanacho as well coming in. The argument would be, if you got these players in 3 weeks ago, would that have made a difference against Kuyat? I think it probably would have done, to be honest with you. So I take Neil's point in terms of the squad which took to the pitch against Kuyat home and out. Were they good enough to get across the line? They should have been. There's no doubt about that. So I think the players and even Brendan himself will have to look at in terms of the setup for those 2 games. Did they do good enough as a group? I don't think they did. So I think the Celtic supporters are smart. There's just that frustration there. They enjoyed themselves so much last year. You know, that game against Bayern Munich, they must have been so proud at our football club, Celtic Football Club, showcasing themselves really in the European scene. They must take a huge amount of pride from that. So I can understand that having to step away from the Champions League this time around. But like Neil says, a well-run club. They're debt-free. They've got money in the bank. And I'm sure there's ambition there within the board as well to improve. Not as easy as some people think, and get the players and bring them in. It's never as simple as that. But Celtic are in a very good place.